A couple of videos ago we talked about DNA. DNA is the language of life. It's the instructions on how to make an animal or a plant. Each small piece of DNA that does something is called a gene. So the small piece of DNA that controls your hair colour is called the gene for hair colour. What we're going to talk about today is taking genes and putting them in different animals and plants. This is called genetic engineering. Some people see this as very controversial, but some people think it's very exciting. Because all animal and plant species are related to each other, they all have the same basic instructions, DNA. The fact that everything in the natural world uses DNA is absolutely amazing, and it makes genetic engineering possible. The DNA in a bacteria will work with the DNA of a lion. The DNA of a monkey will work with the DNA of a plant. If we can take a gene that does something useful in one animal or plant, we can perhaps put it into another one and see if it works there too. Some people don't like this idea. They think it's humans having too much power, trying to be God. However, it's important to look at all the good things it can do before having this opinion. When talking about genetic engineering, you might hear the term GMO. This stands for genetically modified organism. This just means an animal or plant that has been genetically engineered. All the things we'll talk about below are GMOs. The first one was very small, a bacteria in 1973. The first larger animal came a year later, in 1974. It took another 20 years of research before it was legal to sell GMOs in the real world. It was in 1994 that the first genetically modified food was sold. GMOs are now found in a large number of different areas, from food to medicine to biotechnology. One of the major ways GMOs have been used is with plants that we eat. Scientists have made plants that are resistant to diseases and resistant to insects. These are the majority of genetically modified organisms. Making them resistant means that they survive better than normal plants. This means we can grow more food and feed more people. Scientists can also make these plants resistant to heat or cold, so they can grow in more difficult environments. They can also add nutrients to the plants. Rice has been genetically modified to include vitamins that people need to be healthy. China was one of the first countries to introduce this kind of technology. In 1992, a tobacco plant was made there that was resistant to a virus. A couple of years later, an American company made a tomato that stays fresh longer, so less food is wasted. Apart from food, GMOs can also be used in medicine. One of the most important discoveries has been to do with diabetes. This is a disease that more and more people are suffering from. It's caused by a problem with the body making insulin. Insulin is one of the things that controls the level of blood sugar in people. Originally, to give people more insulin, we had to get it from other animals. We used animals like pigs and took their insulin to give to people. This was obviously not the best answer to the problem. In 1978, however, a genetic engineering company made the first human insulin from a bacteria. This was much cheaper and much safer, and it has been very important in helping people with diabetes. GMOs can also help people who have allergies. One of the many allergies people have is to milk. It is one of the parts of the milk, called lactose, that some people can't eat. In 2012, scientists in New Zealand successfully made a genetically modified cow. This cow's milk does not make people ill if they have this allergy. It means they can now drink milk safely, all because of genetic engineering. Perhaps the most important discovery in recent years was made in 2010. A man called Craig Venter created artificial DNA. This is DNA made by humans, not DNA already found in nature. This was the first time humans had ever made their own whole piece of DNA. It took more than 10 years and cost about $40 million. They took this artificial DNA and put it into a bacteria, which had its own DNA taken out. Amazingly, this new bacteria with artificial DNA survived. It was therefore the first living thing to be created by humans. The future of genetic engineering is probably going to be even more amazing.